Hey, David here. So today I've got my ZR in front of me hooked up to the monitor, and so we're going to talk about the menu system today, and I'm going to talk about, it's going to be more than that. I'm also going to get into, at the end of this video, I'll kind of give you my final assessment of the ZR, where I plan on using it, things like that. But today I want to talk about how I've got the camera set up for me. I'm going to talk about the user settings. I've got all four set up. I'll go walk through the menu system a little bit here. I'm going to try not to get on any rants. I heard another guy today talking about the menu system, how he doesn't like it. You know, I get it. You know, if you're a Sony user or a Canon user or blah, blah, whatever you've been, you know, going into a new menu system can be, you know, how do I say it? Frustrating at times, but I wouldn't say that this menu system is by any means bad. And I'll also point out, and I'll mention as when I get in here, is that, you know, this menu system has a My Menu section in addition to the 4 user sections. So you can set up this menu so that you can get to the stuff you need to fairly quickly. Is it as fast as all the buttons that you have on a Canon C500 Mark II? No, it's not, but you can at least, you know, get to where you need to go. So let's get to it. Let's get to the menu system in the Nikon ZR. All right, so here we are. When you go to the menu, the best way to describe it is on the left-hand side, you've got the big ones, right? These are the big areas, and they all have their own different name. This one is the photo shooting menu. This one is the video recording menu. You've got the custom settings menu. I often referred to it as the pencil. That's how I've always talked about it, as a pencil. Then you've got the playback, which I'm not going to talk too much today. We'll get a little bit into this setup menu here. Then you've got the network menu, you know, if you're going to be going into, you know, connecting to a smart device and whatnot. And then here's the thing I just said, the My Menu. I'm not using it right now, but you can add items to that. And I can't remember how many you can have in here, but there's a bunch, like 20 or I don't know exactly what it is, but there's actually quite a few options, you know, you have in there. Like I think you put 20 or something. So that's that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to it. First things first, on the ZR, at the top, you've got the photo and video switch, okay? And basically, when you have it flipped to video, you've got your video camera, duh. When you have it flipped to photo, you've got your photo camera, duh. Now let's talk about in the menu system. In the photo shooting menu, when you change stuff there, it's directly related to being in the photo mode of the camera. When you change things here in the video recording menu, it's directly related to things when you have the video button or in the video section. So in short, if you go into this photo shooting menu and you make changes and you've got your camera set in video mode, none of those changes are going to matter. If you're in video mode and you're trying to take photos, none of those changes are going to matter, okay? Now let's go down to the custom settings menu. You've got, you know, focus meter, et cetera, but it's worth mentioning here, this F controls section. The F controls is for photo, okay? Any changes that you make in here, you'll notice you've got the custom I menu in here, you've got custom controls, and you see how it says F? Those are all for the photo settings. So if you make changes in this F section thinking it's going to affect video, it's not going to affect video, okay? And so then of course there you've got G. We'll be into this section, you know, a fair amount today. That is for video. It's also worth mentioning that the user menus, and I'm going to get into those. Let's go into manage user settings. Right now I'm over in the wrench and manage user settings. You can see the 4 that I have right now, and I've named them. I've got NRAW, H.265, RScan, and RTL. Those user menus, I want you to notice on the screen right now, notice how there's a photo and there's a video. I haven't named the photo ones. If I wanted to, I could go in and I could actually name, see how it says rename. I could name the photo there. Right now I've got this one here. What's important to recognize is that in these user menus, it's 4 user settings, but it's actually 8 to the degree because it's 4 video and there's 4 photo. Does that make sense? And so it's important to understand that in these user settings, if you will, the 4 user settings, there's the video and the photo. And back to the menu again, once again, you've got the photo section, you've got the video section. So for example, you'll notice that right now, I am currently shooting mode. I'm in user 1. So my camera would be shooting based on user 1. If I went into the photo section and made changes there and I flipped my camera over to photo, those photo settings would apply to user 1. Make sense? Okay, now something else that I'm going to be talking about the user settings here in a second, but I want to make it clear that, let me get out of here. If you notice the shooting mode options under video, and you'll notice that right now it's set as user 1, okay? If I wanted to change it to manual, aperture priority shutter, or programmed auto, you actually have, dare I say, a 5th user setting, because the camera in its, how do I say it? In its normal state, meaning you're not using one of the user settings, all of these apply to that. Does that make sense? So when you have the camera on, if you're not using a user setting, you can either set it to auto, program auto, shutter priority auto. I'm not going to get into what these things mean, aperture priority or manual. You can have it set to any of those. And this also goes as far as, the video file type. And I'm going to show it to you here. All these other settings, all these settings apply to, I'm going to call it the 5th user setting. And I know that's not what it is. They all apply to the camera state if you are not in one of the user settings. And when you make changes to them, they automatically record, meaning they're all automatically going to be updated, okay? And so when you're in a shooting mode that's a user mode like I am right here, for example, user 1, I have it set, and I'll go ahead and show you that right now real quick. Under the user settings for one of the options is, see right here, it says keep changes. And I showed you guys a little bit of this, I think, in my exposure video. If I have keep changes to on, any changes I make to the settings will be saved to that user 1. Make sense? Another little thing that I want to mention that I learned rather quickly. A lot of people have been complaining about the, I don't know what you call it, the thumb, the toggle thumb thing on the back of the camera, what I'm talking about, where you can go up and down and left and right and whatnot. Pushing the center to select can be problematic. I will acknowledge that, okay? But here's, I don't know if I want to call it a workaround. I assume that Nikon designed it this way. Oftentimes, hitting the right, going to the right, going this way, okay, on the camera, it selects it. So I'm going to give you an example here. If I'm in the video section and I go over to shooting mode options U1 and I hit the right button, I don't have to hit the center select button. If I just hit the right button, you can see the arrow there. See how there's a right arrow? You hit the right button and you have the user setting, right? Or I have user setting mode 2, or user setting mode 3, or user setting mode 4. Now, when I do that, if I want to make a different selection, let's say I want to go to user setting mode 3, I hit the right, I just go to the right with that toggle, and it takes me into user setting mode 3. I'm going to have to go to the right again to select it, okay? Because if I wanted to go up to program auto, these others, I could, but I want it manual. And if I hit the right, if I go to the right again on that toggle, it selects it, and you'll notice, boom, I'm gone. And look it, I am now under shooting mode option number 3. So if I go back again and I go back up to user setting mode 1, I hit the right thing, hit the right toggle, go to manual, hit the right toggle, boom, I'm back again. And as I go through some of these menus showing you what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. I don't want you guys to think that I'm hitting the middle, on that. There's a name for that. I'm sorry, I don't know what the name is. The I don't know, selection joystick, I guess you would call it, or whatever, the thumb joystick. Oftentimes you don't have to hit the center, even to the point that I find that myself, I don't usually hit the center. I go hit the right. And if I have to hit it, I just use the screen. I go to the screen and I say, okay. All right. So now that, I hope, gives you a feel of the way the menu system is laid out, if you will. It's really not complicated. Once you kind of get the hang of, of where things are, it's not a problem. So now let's go in. I'm going to tell you the user settings that I have, how I have them set up, and why I have them set up that way, and how I set them up that way. Okay, so we're back in the menu section. I'm down under video. I go to shooting mode options. That's user 1. User 1 is what I call NRAW. So it's NRAW, and under user one, I've got it set as manual. I have all mine as set as manual, by the way. So it's user one, and the video file type is NRAW. And once again, I'm hitting to the right. NRAW, you see it right there, NRAW, 12-bit, NEV, NLOG. Okay, you have an option of SDR or NLOG. I don't particularly like SDR on anything, so I have an NLOG. And once again, I'm just hitting the right on that. We'll call it the joystick, the thumb joystick. Let's just call it a joystick. I hit to the right on the joystick, and boom, I'm back. I've got the frame size, frame rate right now. I've got it 60K. I also have it at 2997 or 30 frames per second. There's a reason I have it that way. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later. If I'm shooting NRAW, I'm going for the video look. I'm not trying to go for any kind of cinematic look at all. So that's usually going to be 30 frames a second, unless I want to go 60 frames a second, I'll change it. But I leave it at that. And if I go to the right, boom, I'm there again. For the video quality in that one, I've got it set to normal. I could go to high, but I don't use it for that. So let's go ahead and go down here and show you some other things that I have set up for this. ISO sensitive, I got the highest maximum at 6400. I may change that in time. We'll see. There is definitely noise that shows up at 6400 ISO with NRAW in certain situations, but anyway, we're not going to get into that. And so this is an example where I'm going to go left on the joystick to go back. I've got the white balance at auto for this, because if I'm in NRAW, that's typically what I'm going to do. What are some other things? You've got options for various things here that you may, video flicker. Like I said, I'm not going to get into a bunch of the different things that are in the menu system. Focus mode, I've got autofocus. Typically when I'm using NRAW, I'm going to use one of my autofocus lenses. I'm not going to be using my, Zeiss or my any other manual lenses typically. Auto, you see if there's anything else on here. Of course, I've got the 32-bit float audio recording on. Oh, here's a funny button, attenuator. This camera's got 32-bit audio, so I don't know why I would use an attenuator when I've got 32-bit audio. And by the way, I've had a situation, I did a walk and talk, one of my killing times, that the one where I was doing H.265, and it was hot, but the 32-bit audio worked just fine. I got it into DaVinci Resolve, and I just turned it down a little bit, and there was no clipping at all. So kudos to 32-bit audio for that one. So I don't use the attenuator. What's the point? You got frequency response for the audio, wind noise reduction. So as you can see, most of these settings I have set up because for the most part, when I'm using NRAW, it's for a certain purpose. Okay. It's not, I'm not, like I'm out running and gunning for a video look or whatever. So I have that set up. So now let's head over to user two. User 2, I have it set up for H.265, and I have it set up for manual right now. But I have a feeling that I will probably have my H.265 probably be shutter priority auto is what I will most likely use it for. Right now I have it set as manual. And then of course I have it set. Let me go ahead and go back. See, now we're in user 2. You'll notice I've got it at H.265. Of course, I've got it in NLOG. And I have it set at the highest it'll do, which is 5K, because, why not, right? But when you're in H.265, you have other options which are interesting. So I'm going to go down and get to those. They're really the audio stuff, which I think is interesting. You go down here and you've got, where's it at? Where are you, audio? Did I pass you already? There it is. So you got, of course, the 32-bit float recording, but look at this one. You got the built-in microphone options. As best as I can tell, that's only available when you're shooting H.265. And I mentioned it in a video, I think, at one time or another. So you've got this Ozo audio, and you have audio directivity. And so it's using the front, the built-in audio, built-in mics as best as I can tell. And you've got front super directional, front all directions, rear stereo, binaural. Am I saying that right? I typically use the front super directional. And once again, I'm just hitting the right joystick button and, I'm there. And so now I'm hitting the left joystick button, I'm back. So H.265 has that option. So unless, I'm going to probably do some tests with that. It did a pretty good job when I did the H.265 video. And then I've got some pretty nice post-production audio sweetening tools, Isotope and others. But this is not a video about that. So I don't know if I'll get a shotgun mic or not, because it works pretty good. So that's one of the advantages. Once again, this is a tool, right? And that's one of the advantages of using H.265 in the case of the ZR is you can have that. There it is again, Ozo audio, whatever that is. Okay, I'm sure there's a name for it. I don't know what it is. Okay, and then the rest of the stuff is pretty much the same. So now for user setting, whoops, what am I doing here? For user setting 3, I have that set up as, and this is where I'm going to get, let's back up for a second, okay? I want to point out to you that in user setting 1 and 2, but especially user setting 1, which is my NRAW. See it again, I'll show you the menu here. See how it's NRAW? Let's go over to the pencil or the custom settings menu, and I'm going to go down to video, and we're going to go down to the, I believe it's 16. Go down to the zebra patterns. Okay, for NRAW, I determined that the black point was 30. The highlight or clipping point was 250. And let's go ahead and go into there right now with zebra pattern. You'll notice right there the highlight threshold, and I talk about that in another video. I'm not going to get into it here. The highlight threshold, I have it set at 250. And the mid-tone range, now for me, mid-tone is skin. Okay, now I could go a little lower if I wanted to. I'm guessing mid-tone on this, mid-tone is 50 IRE. I'm not going to get into that a bunch. So if you want a 50 IRE, if I take 250 and multiply it by 0.5, that's 125, right? That's 50%. But I also know there's that 30%, I shouldn't say 30%. There's the 30 setting of black. So do I want to split that? Anyway, we're splitting hairs here. So I would say that middle gray is in the 125 to 130 range, right? And so I've got it skin at 160. Of course, depending on the type of skin, it could be as low as 145, 150, as high as 170. That's open to interpretation. For me, the highlight threshold is what really matters, because if you guys don't know me well enough watching my videos, I do not like clipping. So that's that. So let's go back. If I go now back over to, let's go over to user mode 3. User mode 3 for me is R3D, which is red raw, which is why I bought this camera. We'll talk about that later. And of course I have it at 6K, and of course I've got it at 24 frames a second, because I personally don't see myself shooting red raw, anything but 24 or 23, 9.8, 9.76. I just don't. And so that's what I've got that at. And then all this other stuff, the white balance for me, I don't know if you noticed that. I should have mentioned it, but in those other ones in NRAW and H.265, I have the white balance set at auto. But with red raw, you don't have that option. So I usually have a color temperature. I leave it at 5600. That's just what I do. I'm used to fixing it, or I should say fixing it, adjusting it in post. And I don't see myself changing that MO for any reason. Okay, so now let's go down. What else do I have here? Let's go into the video, the zebra patterns. So and this is where the difference between 3 and 4, user 3 and user 4 for me. User 3 for me is as I've said before, and I'm going to show you here, the highlight threshold for red raw with the view assist off. And I know I should make that 100% clear, because there's a lot of guys out there that can't live without view assist. And I get it, okay? Find your LUT that you love, make it look the best you can with the LUT. Go back into Premiere Pro or Final Cut, wherever you're at, and just throw the LUT on. I get it. But for me, I'm going to shoot red raw. I'm not going to have the view assist on. The highlight threshold is 180. It is on the money. I've actually found that I could be at 180 and there is some room there. I get into post and it's not completely clipped, which I kind of like. So I like 180. Mid-tone range, I know it says mid-tone. I've got it at 115 for skin. Okay, the number that Nikon even says is 85. Some people might say 80, but 85 is the, some might even say 90, but 85 is the mid-tone, the 50% IRE, if you will. So that's 85. And so now let's go over to user 4. And I think you guys know what's coming. If you've watched my other videos, let's see if you guys can guess. And if you guys want to guess, what's user 4? So user 4 is my run and gun. And you can see it's R3D. You can see that it's 6K. I've got it at 6K, 24 frames per second. And to go back, I'm just hitting the thumb to go. I'm just going to the left, going left, right, right, left, right. I'm not hitting the center on the joystick, the thumb joystick at all. So now I'm going to go over to the left and I come down to pencil, go to video. You guys know what's coming, right? Did you guess? What's user 4? User 4, and here's where everybody, the haters are going to be out there. User 4 is my traffic lights. Now, I know it's not the same as the traffic lights in my red weapon that I'm shooting this on right now. I know it's different, but it accomplishes the same thing for me in the ZR. So these are my traffic lights, and there they are. My highlight threshold is 180. My mid-tone range is 20, and like I've said before, I've got it set to a range of 5 because when it gets down to 20, it's black, it's gone, and for all intents and purposes, is that the right way to say it? You could call it a low threshold because if the high threshold's at 180, everything above that, because that's what's going to Red RAW, it's being recorded, it's all going to be clipped. When it gets to black, it's black. So I have a range of 5, I have a value of 20, and that is my, now here, I can't go back. Just so that you know, the thumb is not taking me back. I can go left, right, I can go up and down and change these, but now I'm hitting the, the 3-bar line to take me back. Okay, so those are my 4 user settings. That's what I'm doing with it. One other thing I should mention, let's go to the user setting. I'm in user setting 4. Let's go ahead and do it for here. I'm going to go into the video. I'm going to go into the wrench and let's go to the manage user settings. Let's go down to 4, which is the one we're talking about. And you can see the names I have them here for. So I've got NRAW, I've got H.265 right there. I've got RSKN for red skin. I've got RTL for red traffic lights. If I go to the red traffic lights, you'll notice here that, where am I at here? Hold on a second. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong spot. So I am in user 4. Now I'm going to go over to video and I'm going to go up to controls. Okay. So under controls, custom controls. Now those are the buttons on the camera. Custom eye menu is the eye menu. You guys know what the eye menu is? You hit the 3 little bars and it pulls it up at the bottom of the screen. I can't show it to you on this because it just won't do it. But that's the eye menu. And once again, you can make changes to that eye menu for every user. So you can have 4 different, actually 8. So you can have 4 eye menu for each user, and you can have 4 photo eye menus. But I'm going to go ahead and point this out real quick here. Like I said to you before, eye menu G1 is eye menu for video. If I go up, I need to go to F1 for the eye menu for photo. You with me? It has nothing to do with the switch on the top of the camera. When using it, it's the switch on the top of the camera. But in the menus, F is for photo, G is for video. Why they went FG. I get it. They should have went FV maybe. No. See there's my complaint. You should have went to F to V for video instead of G because F is kind of like photo. You didn't do P, you did F. Anyway, I digress. Custom eye menu is F1. Custom controls for photo is F2. So now let's go back down to video. So my user 4 custom controls, my red traffic lights. If you go to custom controls, there they are. F1 is function 1. It's the 1 button on the top of the camera right here. Function 2 is the 2 button. Function 3 is the 3 button. And the way I have those set, I have function 1 set as my zebras. I have function 2 set as peak. And I'll briefly talk about there. I can't show it to you, but in my exposure for pros video, I actually showed this to you guys, and I'll talk about it briefly here. And then function 3, I have assist, which is kind of funny. This is my, if it's available, because it's important to understand that right now that if I'm in red RAW, don't ask me why, and you want to call this a quirk, I call it a limitation, but you can call it a quirk if you want. This focus assist button doesn't work in red RAW. It works in NRAW, meaning I can hit that button that I have assigned to number 3. I can hit that button with NRAW and it'll flip the view assist on. But if I flip that button with with red RAW, it won't flip it on. And I kind of think that's funny because maybe that's Nikon's way of saying, hey, yo guys, you're in red RAW. This is a red camera. Don't turn the view assist on. If you turn the view assist on, it's going to be nothing but problems. And if you look at a lot of the videos that are out there, most of the problems that they talk about are one of two things. It's either with view assist on, or it's with the menu system that they don't like. It's interesting what people complain about. So that's how I've got it set up. I've got function 1 is zebras, function 2 is peak, function 3 is assist, which with red RAW doesn't work right now. But I'm going to point something out, and I can't show it to you. Go to my exposure for pros video and you'll see it. The reason I have this set up, and I'm going to pull this up so that you can see it. When I hit function 1, it shows me zebras. When I hit function, it shows me zebras high threshold. When I hit the function button again, i.e. the number 1 button on my camera, it shows me the zebras mid. Okay, so in my TL, you know, it shows me the low. It shows me the 20 setting. I know it says mid because that's the name they've given it, but if I've got my user 4, which is my traffic light setting, it's giving me H1 is the highs, you know, high threshold, and mid is the low. If I have it with my skin one, the high is still the highs, because highs, you guys know, if you've seen any of my videos, I do not like clipping highlights. And then I have the skin for the mid in that case. So back to here. If you want to change any of these other ones, I haven't changed any others. I don't see any points. So I have 1, 2, and 3 set for that. And I have found that it works quite well for me. Okay, for all you LUT guys, we might as well talk about LUTs here. LUTs are in the custom settings menu G. And I can't emphasize this enough. I've heard comments from people, not only on my videos, but on other videos, where people don't seem to understand that the view assist is LUTs on. And I don't, you know, once again, Nikon, I know you're not going to change this, but don't call it view assist. Call it LUT on or something, or call it LUTs, because that's what it is. And I'm going to go into the back menu. Here we are. We're in the back menu. If you notice under, you know, G15, under the pencil, you do the LUT, okay? If I go over to the right, you've got 3D LUT off. You know, that's when you turn it on or not. That's the other thing that's funny. If I go back here, see where it says view assist on? Okay, view assist, then over here it says 3D LUT off. They're one and the same. I have not been able to see how they're any different. If they are, I don't know. If, you know, guys, be sure and leave me comments if I'm missing something here. So you can select the LUT, all right? And the Rec 709 at the top is the one that came with the camera that everybody has problems with, and I'm not going to get into that. I made some of my own just kind of for tests. I'm not really using it that much. I've got one I call Cine 709. I've got my ZR Red Raw full exposure one. That was me fiddling around with something. And I've got my corporate 709. I won't get into what those are, but I did do that. And just also for what it's worth, import cube file. If you know how to create your own LUTs, this is not going to be a DaVinci Resolve tutorial, but that's how you would import your own LUT. And it's also worth mentioning that if you want to import your LUT, you have to put it on the card, but you have to have it in a folder called LUTs. And I did all cap LUTs. I think that's what it needs. I don't know if it's case sensitive or not, but it's inside the Nikon folder. So I hope I get this right. When you have you got DCIM, is it, I believe, and then you have Nikon, are the two folders on the drive. And in the Nikon folder, you create a folder called LUTs, all caps, LUTS, and you put that cube file in there. And then once you've done that, you can go in here to import cube file, and they'll be there, and you can just select them. Okay, well, I think I'm done talking about the menus. I could go into more detail if I needed to, but I think you guys got an idea of where it is. So let's talk about this camera, and let's talk about a couple other things that people have asked on occasion. People ask about the audio. You know, wow, your audio is so good. Well, they've said it other times, but right now in this video, that's a nice mic. That is an Austrian audio mic. And I will simply say that this mic, well, I should also let you know what I'm doing here and what I typically do. I've got this mic going into a mixer / recorder. This one's called the MixPre 6. I'll lift it up so you guys can see it here. See, I am talking into this right now. You can see the levels, and it's recording to this. And then I have a hop. You guys may or may not know what a hop is. I'm going to lift that up for you. I'm just using a simple Rode. Can you see it right there? Yeah, you can. hold it over here so that it's in focus. I've got a simple, cheap, I've had this thing, I don't know how long, a cheap Rode wireless mic system, and I've got it plugged into there, and it's hopping. That's the phrase that people use. It's either a camera hop or a wireless hop or a, scratch track hop. Is heading over to my Red weapon, and I've got the other end of the wireless. I got the wireless receiver over there, and it's plugged into the audio over there. So I'm really not concerned about the quality of that audio, and it's pretty good. I've got the meter set up over there. I've got the meter set here, and it's probably pretty good. But when I get into DaVinci Resolve, I simply just do audio sync. Back in the day, here we go. I got to throw in my back in the day film reference. Back in the day, I used to record audio to, I believe what they called DAT, digital tape, audio tape. I know I had a DAT recorder, and we had what? We had our clapper, right? We had our clapper. I won't get into that. And so I've synced audio in the past before, because film, you couldn't record audio for the most part. My cameras, you couldn't record audio at all. And so syncing audio is not really a big deal for me. And with DaVinci Resolve, it's ridiculously easy, because I go into the back end and I put the file, the red raw file, or in this case it's files, but the red raw files in the same folder as the audio, and then I just select the two of them. And I've done a movie in the past, and movies, whatever, and I've done it with multiple files, so it's not just the one. But this is really easy, because it's one file. I stick the one file in there, I stick the audio in there from here, and I just say sync audio, and I tell it waveform. You can do it by time code, but I'm not syncing time code with this. I do it by waveform, and bam, the audio that you're hearing right now is coming from this mic. I may have done some tweaking. Like I said, I have isotope plugins. I've got others. I don't usually use the built-in DaVinci Resolve ones. I'm not saying they're bad, but the ones that I have are pretty good. And so that's what I typically do with audio. And so there's the audio. Okay, now let's talk about, and also I should probably mention, this mic and that mixer is more money than this camera for what it's worth, right? Good audio. Anyway, back in the days when I did commercials and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was the guy that did commercials with people talking. I wasn't the guy that just had a bunch of B-roll with a voiceover, like a drug commercial where it's a bunch of B-roll, people having a good time, you're reading the disclaimers. Audio is important, and audio's always been important for me. And I'm going to put in my audio plug, if you want to call it that. It's easier to watch a movie with bad visuals or bad video and good audio than a movie with good video, good visuals, good film, whatever you want to call it, and bad audio. It's hard to watch something with bad audio. That's just the way it is. Now let's get to the ZR, as I call it, the Z-Red. And I joke, if I'm at user 1 shooting NRAW, this is not the Z-Red, it's the Nikon ZR. But when I turn it on when I go to user 3 or user 4 and I'm shooting red, it's my Z-Red. And the best advice that I can give you guys is that when you flip this thing onto red, when you're shooting red raw, for the most part, you need to really look at it like it's a red camera. You do. I don't know how else to say it. I do, okay? And I know it's in a Nikon body. I know there's quirks, there's limitations, whatever you want to call it, that you have to understand and work around. But for me personally, owning a red camera and having owned other mirrorless cameras, like I said before, I've owned Lumix, I've owned Sony, I've owned Fuji, I've owned a bunch of different Blackmagic cameras. When I put this thing into red, I try to treat it like a red camera. So what am I going to use this camera for? Or why did I buy this camera? I've had it now for, I don't know, maybe over a month, and I've put it through its paces for the most part. I haven't gone out and shot a lot of stuff to use, because I want to know what I can do with it first, right? Before I go out and do that. I bought this camera for a very simple reason. There's 3 reasons I bought this camera. Having owned it now, I can tell you what those 3 are. Number 1, it shoots red raw. No question, number 1. Number 2, it's small. It's very small, and the small goes with it, the monitor, blah, blah, that all goes with it to me in the small. The third thing is the batteries. You can take this you can take this guy out. I have 4 batteries for it. I don't know when I will ever use 4 batteries. unless I go on some trip somewhere and I don't even bother taking the charger. The charger's small. This is ridiculous how much time you can get out of these batteries. So red raw, size, batteries. That's means a lot. Now, some minor stuff, the autofocus is kind of nice, but depending on what I'm doing, the walk and talks and stuff like that, autofocus, yeah, it might be nice, whatever. So there's a place for autofocus, but you can't pull focus with this thing. That's one thing that Canon has that's pretty nice is you can set the speed of the focus. So with Canon, you could kind of click something and click something else and it would kind of pull focus and you could slow it down, which was kind of nice. I can't say I used it that much. I've had a Canon before as well too. I had a C200. This doesn't do that. Okay. Will they fix that in a firmware? Yeah, maybe they can. Okay. I don't know, but I'm going to pull focus with manual lenses if I'm going to pull focus with this one. But for what I'm going to use this for, like, I don't know if you saw that video I did where I went out in that Florida city. That's the first time I've gone out and done it. I even said that, it's the first time with this camera, just kind of going and doing this. I'll use it for that kind of stuff. I've got a 20, a 40, and an 85 millimeter Nikon lenses, or I should say Nikon mount lenses that are autofocus. So I'll probably use it for that. But for this kind of stuff, and I've done it. I've shot this in this very setting. I did some real estate stuff with this Nikon ZR, and this is going to offend some of you probably because I know for you this camera is your dream camera or whatever. It's amazing what you can do with it, and it's a great camera. But for me, this camera is in the category of good enough because I've shot stuff where I'm sitting at this table with this ZR as a Z Red shooting red. It looks good, and some people would say it looked great. But if I pull up the same footage, same scene with this camera, with my red weapon, I'm sorry, guys. It's just not the same. It's not. Okay. And a person watching, they may never know the difference. They may not care. And I get that. Okay. So I may use this for that, but I don't think I will. I'm more likely to use the camera that I'm using right now. So that's it. I don't know if I rambled a little too long for some of you guys. This might be, and I'm saying this at the end, maybe I should have said it sooner. This might be the last ZR how-to video I do because I don't know what else I need to learn about this camera. And I've done videos where I talk about exposure and I've talked about the menu system. I did a video talking about, focus and stuff like that. I don't know what else there is to say about this camera. For me to learn, if you will. If you want to subscribe to my channel and hang around, I'll be shooting stuff with it. I don't know what future videos are going to be. I know I'm going to be working on a movie, but I'll be using, if I'm not using this camera, I'll be using another camera. We don't need to talk about that. But I don't anticipate, this ZR is not going to be an A cam for me for a movie. I just don't see it happening. A B cam, yeah, it's possible. You guys have to understand there are sometimes that GoPros are used in movies, for a 2-second action shot in a car or whatever it is. Gimbal shots with this, yeah, there's a place for it. No question about it. Is it a great camera? Yeah. Is it better than a Sony? It depends. Is it better than a Lumix? It depends. Like I said to you earlier before, to me, this is kind of two cameras. If I want the video look, and also I want to do a shout out to Jet Photo. Jet Photo was doing some stuff in his car and he shot the first video with his Z Red in Red Raw. And then he shot another one with his Z6 III and he was trying to see, what the difference is. And basically what I said to him, and I'm saying to you guys right now is, there's a video look. Don't get me wrong. This camera has a video look, I believe in NRAW, and then it has a cinema leaning look in Red Raw. But for me, it's still video. And don't get me off on a tangent. I did that whole series on the film look. And once again, this is going to upset some of you. Maybe it won't. No digital camera today from Arri on down. None of them look like film. I'm sorry, guys. They don't. I can go to my computer right now, my edit system, and I can pull up commercials that I shot on film. And yes, they're commercials that I can't stick on my YouTube channel because there's logos and blah, blah, and whatever. I've got commercials I've shot on 16, I've shot on Super 16, I've shot on 35. And I'm just telling you guys, it doesn't look like, they don't look like film. Now, having said that, if you want to go run and see episode 7 of my The Film Look, I talk about how things are changing, and they absolutely are changing. I don't know that the film look is even popular anymore. There's a movie that was recently made a few years back, I believe it was called Oppenheimer. They intentionally shot that on film. And when I found that out, I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. They shot it on film for a reason. And what was the reason? There was a look that they wanted. And yeah, guess what? Arri wasn't going to give them that look. The red Monstro, the red V-Raptor, whatever, wasn't going to give them that look. They shot it on film. And guess what? They had the money. I remember the days of it being $90 a minute to shoot film. Okay. And I'm not going to get on a film tangent. So I know that even the camera I have now, and there's other red cameras, they look great, but they're not film, okay? And so it comes down to, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And then make the most of what you got. Can you make a movie with this Nikon ZR? You absolutely could. And if you made the whole movie with it, and it had a good story, blah, 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 I think you could do it. I think, and I'm going to say this again, I think it's good enough. And that's offensive to some people, but it shouldn't be. I think it's good enough. I think it's better good enough than a Sony, because to me, the Sony just looks too much like video. The Lumix just look too much like video. I seriously considered getting an S1H a long time ago, and I didn't, because it just didn't cut it for me. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So know the camera you have, know the look that you want, or accept the look that it is. And the Nikon ZR is a great camera for what it is. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. I hope you guys stick around. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. And you'll get to see me doing stuff with this camera rather than just talking about it. That's it. Thank you for watching this long. I hope I've been helpful for some of you guys. I know I've got comments where some of you guys have enjoyed, some of the stuff I've done. I've gotten some complaints from some people as well. So it's been nice to be here inside. I hit record on these cameras and no airplanes flew by.